Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the CIES Talks, a new podcast series in which we dive into the fascinating world of sports management, education, and research, featuring insights from top experts in the industry. This podcast is brought to you by CIES, the International Center for Sports Studies, an independent study center located in Neuchâtel, Switzerland, which provides cutting edge research and world class education to the world of sports. Among other things, CIES organizes Europe's leading sports management postgraduate program, the FIFA Master, which I'm a proud alumnus of. For more information, check out CIES.ch. By the way, my name is João Frigerio, and as I just mentioned, I'm a FIFA Master alumnus. Actually, I've been an alumnus of the program for just about 20 years since I graduated in July 2005. And it was over 20 years ago that I had the privilege to meet today's guest. I met Professor Dino Ruta when I was a student at the FIFA Master, studying at the course's management module at Bocconi School of Management in Milan. Then we had the opportunity to work on several FIFA Master related projects together, and today I'm happy to call him a friend too. Professor Dino Ruta is a leading figure in sports business education and leadership. He's a professor of practice at Bocconi School of Management in Milan, where he founded the Sport and Entertainment Knowledge Center. For many years now, he has been involved in shaping the FIFA Master program, contributing to the education of future leaders in sport. And more recently, he became an academic director of the Executive Master in Business of Events developed with Milano Cortina 2026. A multiple times published author, a trusted advisor to top sports organizations, and a frequent collaborator with global institutions such as Columbia University and the Jusur Institute in Qatar, Professor Dino Ruta brings a global perspective to the evolving world of sports and leadership. It's a real pleasure to have him with us today. Caro Dino, benvenuto. Welcome to the CIES Talks.
Ciao, Joao. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for this introduction. I'm not sure if I deserve all these nice words from your side, but I'm very, very happy to contribute to the CIES series and in general to be part of the FIFA Master family.
Thank you, Dino. You're always welcome. It's great to be with you. We meet every year, a few times a year, and now talking online. Anyway, let's start. Maybe I already gave a brief introduction about yourself, but tell us a bit more about your journey, how you started your career, professional career, how you actually entered the sports industry and the sports world until where you are now.
Yes, Joe, I like to tell stories because at the end of the day, sport is about great stories of athletes, of events. And I want to share a couple of episodes that happened in my life. And then they allow me to be a professor in this sport education field that is a fascinating field of play. I did my university at Bocconi University. Actually, I come from the south of Italy, so I moved to Milano to study. At a certain point,
And what did you study?
I studied technically management, so business administration management. So that was the degree. It was a 4-year degree. And after that, I had the possibility to go and work in consulting firms, at the time there was IBM, or it was at the end of the 90s. So I'm quite old. I don't want to say how many years.
I think you're very young.
Yeah, but and 90 around that period, I graduated quite young. So I was almost 22 years old, and in a certain way, I wanted to go working, but I felt I could do something else. And a professor asked me, say, why don't you start a PhD? And then was a kind of turning point of my life. So I did my PhD, and then I was lucky enough to get my first contract as assistant professor at Bocconi University. I was sharing the office with a colleague of mine that one day said, Dino, I need your help. I said, tell me, Alessandro, in 1 week, I will change my life. I will go from academia to a C-level job. So I need to ask a favor. Alessandro, please. And he said, next week, I'm supposed to teach at FIFA Master, the course in organization and human resource management. Please, can you do it for me? And that was a turning point because
What year was that?
I think it was the third edition. So it was
Okay.
2003. Was a turning point because I entered in that class. I felt the vibe of the multicultural perspective, different angles, and the eyes of all the FIFA Master students. For me, they always have the energy to make an impact in the real life. So that basically that experience changed my life. That year, I received a letter from the president of CIES that still is in my kind of archive of the documents that kind of congratulating for the commitment and what the students, the passion that the students perceived on top of contents. And then that moment was the beginning of the journey in the FIFA Master. And for me, also kind of job crafting. So I started going from a human capital perspective in human capital in sport. That was my turning point.
Yeah. Well, I joined the course, I think, 2 years later. So I was one of your early students, still with some classes on the human capital, human resources, that area. And you evolved as well a lot on the leadership aspect as well, right? So you ended up publishing several books on the topic, a few, maybe a couple at least, with another professor at the FIFA Master. I don't know if he still teaches there, Paolo Guenzi, but he taught me some lessons as well. I think on was marketing, his area, and yeah. So you being this expert and having published books on the topic of leadership, if we talk about that specifically, how has that concept of leadership in sport evolved over the past decades, 10 or even 20 years?
Yes, thank you very much for reminding also my colleague, my dear friend and colleague Paolo Guenzi, because at the time I felt a little bit like I don't know if my topics are interesting for the students, because we are at the beginning of 2000 where there was the big boost and booming of media rights, marketing, sponsorship, VIP, hospitality. So why a professor of leadership and human capital can have a good impact in a FIFA master class. But over the years, I started understanding that being a leader in sport is something that is absolutely relevant at the time and nowadays more and more. So what I realized that in my many studies, it's important to consider that leadership is the ability to influence others to get the work done. That's very simple definition. In fact, influence can be a kind of a synonym of leadership. But over the time, I think I learned that there are at least the two keywords. One is change, so the ability to change. So any change manager, any change leader, any game changer is a leader. And recently, this idea of purpose. So having a purpose, that's what I always found in the FIFA Master class. So people with a purpose now make the difference. Companies with a purpose make the difference, and this is why.
Is it something new? Do you know? Is it some, for instance, the topic of purpose in leadership is something that already existed some 20 years ago when you started, or this is something of this century? It's something more recent.
I think in the past was more like passion, but there was there something, but maybe there was the possibility to call in another way. But now purpose, everybody understand what purpose is. The answer is why I'm doing this, and it's not only what I'm doing. And so I think we didn't invent any new stuff, but maybe we highlight certain elements that are more important than others in leadership, so in leading organizations. And if you think about the purpose of being in sport, it's already a choice, because sport is not simple. Sometimes sport doesn't pay more than other industry at the managerial level. So
Except for some players and agents, but the rest, you're right.
yes, exactly. Or even top leader, C-level, they have a good, absolutely the salaries are well, but overall, as average, many organizations they give you temporary contract. Think about a sporting contract, technical contract, or it's very, you go from one event to another. So basically, it's not like a traditional full-time a job. But I think this idea of why we do things in a class of sport, it resonates very well. In fact, my dean very recently said, at the end of the day, you always been teaching the relevance of sport, why you do things, and now they name it purpose. So I think this is quite innovative. And my mission in life is not only to talk about sport to sport managers, but I think in a business school environment where we have managers coming from different industries, we need to find the possibility to talk about sport to anyone. Because the sport is not an industry, but sport is a competency model. I love this, the mission of the Olympics, more movement for all. It's not related to gold medals, but it's
Yes.
related to the idea to uh, enhance the quality of life of everybody. So sport is a field of play where you may learn to live better, longer, healthier, and with social engagement and social relations. So with others. So for all these
Correct.
reasons, I think, and now I'm pushing my school to also to have what we call human sustainability. So the idea that we need to take care of ourselves, and sport is a great, let me say, medicine. In fact, there is this movement of considering sport as the first medicine in life, because this will generate a better society. That's a little bit, what I do, starting from that famous substitution of my colleague.
Good, good, good. So we talked about many things. Also, the concept of changing concept even of leadership. And what would you say are the most, say, common traits that you see in every successful leader? Is it possible to point out one or two or three traits that everyone has?
I don't know if they are traits, and I don't know if I'm the right person to talk about success. I think success is very subjective. So I say that everybody define what success for herself or for himself. But what I see, that there are at least two values slash traits slash competency that nowadays I see very much relevant. One is diplomacy. That is the ability
Very
to
good.
understand, the geopolitics and how the sport can facilitate integration. This goes together with the multiculturalism, where again FIFA Master is number one in Europe for many years as a program, and I always say, thank FIFA Master, I learned a lot. So it's there are not only students that say FIFA Master changed life, but also professors like me. And the second word I think is legacy. Legacy. I had the chance in many years ago to the CIES financed the publication of a book with Professor Holt from DMU, and together we edited
Right.
a book about legacy. There was also another moment where legacy was not in the priority of many many organizations. Nowadays, starting from Paris 2024 and then Milano Cortina 2026, it's compulsory in the organization to have a head of legacy. So basically, FIFA Master family, my contribution to the literature was to put also legacy as a key competence for leaders. And this is what I think, in summary.
How do you explain legacy for leaders? Because when we think of legacy, for instance, we think of the Olympic Games. You build the venues, and then how that's going to impact, and not only venues, like if they do a new metro system or something like that, that's going to last for many generations. We call that that legacy. But how do you explain legacy then for when we're talking about leaders?
Thank you very much for the question, because this is a kind of key point. I think in the past, many schools were focused on event management. Event management basically is delivery. Now I'm trying to bring this concept of business of events. So we need to conceive a different way to design and measure our results. So how do you measure the result of a sport event? Joao? So what is how can we measure if Milano Cortina will be a great success or will deliver well?
Yeah, you have to measure at the start by setting your KPIs, for instance. You need to know what's important for you. Otherwise, you don't know how to measure it.
For sure, you have the medals, the races, the games, the competition components. You need to have the snow if we talk about Milano Cortina, the fans, the tickets, so the delivery. But then the question is, why? Again, we come back to the purpose. Why are we doing this? We are doing just for the show, or we are doing just to give medals, for broadcasters to have contents, for sponsors to sell more, or we are doing because the territory may benefit out of it? I think so. Basically, the answer is a rhetoric answer, but basically, I think events are catalyzer of resources. They can accelerate something, or they can maybe initiate something. So the famous metro subway in Milano, we had in the desk, maybe close somewhere, a project about the Arena Santa Giulia, the Pala Italia. But then when Milano Cortina was approved and say we need that arena for ice hockey, now all the ecosystem push in order to have the arena on time. Otherwise, you postpone. I learned that the cities, they have plenty of projects, but they are just, many of them are in folders because it's difficult to find the resources. It's difficult to find authorization. It's difficult to connect public and private organization to work together. So in a nutshell, we need to be able to deliver and to have KPI that can really think and talk about the future.
Great. Listen, I think that is very much related to that. If I'm not wrong, your most recent book was about Qatar, right? I think it has a lot to do with legacy as well. Qatar, the land of sports and events. Maybe you can tell us a bit of the experience of writing that book, but especially what are the key learnings? Because now we're bringing another thing to the equation there, which is they didn't really have that sort of legacy of sports before, or even that the region of the world now is heavily investing in it. They hosted the World Cup. Obviously, there's a big movement in Saudi Arabia right now as well. So what are the key learnings from that book, or from that research that you did?
Yeah, there was another milestone of my career. And again, FIFA Master was instrumental for this because you know that we had the first Qatari lady that applied to FIFA Master in 2015-16, so was graduating in 2016, is Miad Alemadi. And when we met in class, to be honest, I knew about Qatar. At the time, they were already awarded of the FIFA World Cup 2022. But I have to admit, my limitation in really understanding where Qatar was. At the time, only Dubai was the Gulf city, a little bit Bahrain with the Formula One Grand Prix. The rest was a kind of black box about where these cities, these countries are, and also differences among them because they are not all the same. So they deserve differences, like Spain and Italy. We are both Mediterranean countries, but
Yeah.
we are totally different. So in that case, Miad was kind of my mentor in understanding the culture. She invited me to watch another funny story. It was a turning point. She invited me to watch an Italian Lega Serie A game in Doha. And when I arrived there, I felt the same feelings when I entered first time in the FIFA Master class. I said, wow, here there is the potential to create bridges. You mentioned Jussur Institute. Jussur means bridges. So the Jussur, we started this collaboration. And I wanted to write a book with all my colleagues because we were invited by the government to deliver programs there and to contribute for the upskilling, reskilling of many professionals in the field of sport about again sport per se and major events. And we learn a lot. I personally wanted to leave something to Qatar, but also to the experience. We wrote together a book. I did it by myself. Bocconi University Press. Key takeaways of this. First of all, putting Doha on the map. So many people were thinking about Dubai, but now they know where Doha is. That's thanks to FIFA World Cup, obviously, and thanks to the great delivery that they made. Second point, I learned a lot similarities, differences about these countries, and that Qatar and the Italy, for instance, or let's say more Western world. The main message that I want to say is that I have seen the desire to change, to evolve in these countries, and where sport is a great word to connect with other countries. So I don't like when these countries are accused to use sport. I think they are leveraging sport in order to evolve. Society is changing, and they cannot change in one day. They cannot change in 1 month. They cannot change in 1 year. So they deserve time. They need time, and the organization of these major events allow this country, the cities, the population to adopt a new standard. That doesn't mean at all to become more Europeans or more Americans. No. But they integrate, they evolve. So I like a lot what the changes that they have done, the kafala system, the way in which workers have been considered. Let me just add this final thing. Many allegation or in general critiques to Qatar for the workers, but think about a small country like a region in Italy, not Italy, a region in Italy, 3 million population, but maybe only 500,000 Qatari. What I say to my colleagues and friends, what is the first risk that you have in a country that is number one for GDP per capita, or overall one of the richest countries in the world for natural gas? And the answer is they have the fear to be invaded, so just someone can enter in the country. So this is why there is this huge control for workers that enter, for workers they have to build a new infrastructure. So for all this reason, I think that I learned that they need respect. And in fact, I want to conclude with this piece of answer. The opening ceremony of the FIFA Master of the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup, was about respect. And I think this is something that I learned. They don't need to be criticized. They are different for religion, for history, for many things, but I think we need to respect, we need to learn how to respect them and vice versa.
Very good, very good. Well, you wanted to say the FIFA World Cup. You wanted you said the FIFA Master. So I take that you want to talk about the FIFA Master as well.
It's in
You've
my
been
heart. Wow, I always say that FIFA Master changed my life because it gave me the opportunity to meet people like you, to meet the CIES staff, leaders. Professor Oswald is a mentor for me, understanding how he created this connection from being an IOC an athlete, an IOC member, and the director of the board of FIFA Master board, so and the CIS director. So all these things for me, FIFA Master gave me the opportunity to understand how to evolve.
cool. So I want to ask you exactly. So that's you've been involved in it for more than 20 years. In your view, what makes this program so impactful?
It's international by definition. 3 universities, 4 organizations, the CIS that supervise, coordinates the 3 universities. All the students are international by definition. As you know, we recognize the value of having a diverse class, and this is difficult to find. As you know, I also teach at Columbia University. Every year I've been invited in the last 10 years as a visiting professor there. And the majority are Americans. There are also international. So it's good to learn about American sport. They have me just to have also an international touch in the program. But overall is an American program, while really CIS brings a lot of diversity in this. Obviously, sometimes we would like to add more, to have the Asian perspective, the American perspective. We want to do this, but we also offer great elements in understanding the nuances, the details of the international model, the pyramid model that is based in Switzerland, with all the adaptation that can go from US, North America, to Asia, to Africa, and Middle East. So I think we are a little bit lucky to be close to, let's say, IOC, FIFA, to all these what I call sport valley in Switzerland, and so I think the value is there. We are able to leverage the position, the relations, the quality of the institutions, and the incredible vision of CIS.
Really good, really good. Dino, when I did the program and you started there, I think, well, the world was very different, right? So actually to acquire that type of knowledge, you needed to really go to places and meet sort of people in person. Now we're in a time and age where the whole knowledge of the world, the history, the complete history of the world is in your pocket, right? On your smartphone and all that. So with that in mind, you already mentioned this international aspect and this exchange of the cultural, I think, exchange. I think it's great. But how do you see the role of international postgraduate programs like the FIFA Master in this next 5 or 10 years? Obviously, kind of even serves as a different purpose in a way, or is it still like that important to have education, one-to-one with professors, with colleagues on your side? Maybe can you talk a little about so the importance that it has now in terms of the learning aspect, even if you have, as I said, all the knowledge of the world on your pocket, but also looking ahead in the next 5 or 10 years, how do you see that evolving? Programs in general, I should say.
Very good point. You are touching at the moment a very what is very relevant for universities, higher education in general. Let me start saying that the first course that I delivered at FIFA Master was titled Organization and Human Resource Management, and we only had the other three was finance, marketing, and strategy. And maybe there was something about information system. So basically 4 or 5 courses, but they were named in a very, like a general management class. That's the course that you took 20 years ago.
Yes.
Nowadays, we need to start with foundation of sports management. So that's the course that I teach. So we need to bring to the students really specific knowledge that is absolutely relevant and more specialized knowledge. So we have a course in sport events, we have a course in sustainability and strategy, and then we talk about legacy, and then we talk about all the elements that we mentioned before that are relevant for leaders. So I see that sport in 20 years became much, much more advanced, and obviously the programs had to adapt. Now the challenge is AI, artificial intelligence. I am the person that says we don't have to limit artificial intelligence. It's part of our. It's a part of our life. It's like I say, students cannot use a laptop. Students cannot use a Google or any browser or internet or a smartphone. So now we have AI. We need to understand that we go from a knowledge delivery to practicing decision making. So you may have all the resources in the world, you may have all the AI, but at the end of the day, your decision, your action is your individual decision for a specific goal / legacy impacts, and in a specific context that you need to know how to map, how to understand. So for me, my keywords now is decision making. We need to teach students and to practice with them how to take complex decisions or make complex decisions in uncertain situation with a variety of stakeholders. And this is something that you cannot do just memorizing definitions, but giving assignment that goes in this direction. So at the moment,
Training is important, yeah.
please.
Training is important. It's not just about reading or whatever. There's some things
It's
that you need to
training, and
train.
also to give original elements of how leaders take decision, having a certain knowledge, and then we need to ask students, what do you do in this situation? So this is, I think, the future. I'm already working this direction, but also for us will be a learning.
And then also put them in that situation, and so they can actually take decisions. I suppose. I see this almost like a bit of driving, because you can give all the instructions to someone how to drive. You can watch many videos of how to drive or whatever, so you know everything about driving. But if you don't practice, although now you don't even need to change gears anymore, but you know what I mean. You need to learn all that, and then you have to apply it, and applying is part of the training.
Coming back to the point of FIFA Master is that in the last 20 years, we may count at least 200, honestly, 200 programs, master or executive programs. So there was, nowadays, everybody has the idea to launch a new program. But I think what makes us unique is the quality of professors, the quality of speakers that really may teach what we have been doing or what actually becomes really relevant. So it's not only about knowledge.
And I have to say, you know, as well, I think the quality of the students, because one, I think that's, you know, I felt when I was doing that, you learn a lot from the professors in class, you learn a lot from the field visits, but you also learn a lot from your peers. And maybe that's a big differentiation of you doing online courses and things like that.
Absolutely. Please, let's consider that first quality is the institution and that is able to attract great talent. I always say Bocconi is not, we cannot transform people. Raw material is important. Like if you like metaphors, you know, so like food. If you want to have the best risotto, you need to start from the best rice. You cannot have the best risotto with the worst rice. There will never be a chef, able, a cook, able to do something like that. So I think we are able to attract the best rice, to attract the best talent, and then develop with them. So this is goes in the direction that you just mentioned.
That's a very Italian example, risotto and rice. Very good.
Absolutely.
We're going towards the end. I have, I think, just another a couple of questions before we need to wrap up. Is there one specific lesson that you learned all these 20 plus years in your career that is kind of special for you, that you'll always try to teach your students or even friends?
My key statement is very simple, and it has been inspired by sport. Is the following one: live like champions. Sometimes we forget the fact that sport exists because we have champions, we admire champions, we have elite athletes, and sometimes managers, students, professors, they like to watch them, but they don't understand the mentality that they have. So I like really to say to everybody that life is made by injuries, defeats, but also wins came back, and so at the end of the day, champions are a great metaphor, but also a great method of life. And for all this reason, I think I remind people to think and live like champions. So we need to learn from them. And for those that are in the sport industry, we need to live like them, but also we need to serve them because the sport system exists just because we have fantastic people able to perform at the highest level.
Very good, very good. And finally, I mean, as you mentioned, we're talking about that. In the end, I think what we all have in common is that we all love sport in one way or another. So, on a more personal level, Dino, what is your favorite sporting moment?
Everybody knows that I am Interista, so I support.
No, really? That was a surprise.
No, it's not a surprise for those of students class. Over the years, also this is a nice story, and then I come back to your question. But one day I woke up and I read on the newspaper. It was May 2014. There was the newspaper was talking about the retirement of Javier Zanetti, the famous Argentinian but also captain. And the journalist was writing, Javier Zanetti will start an executive program at Bocconi with Professor Dino Ruta. And I never met in person Zanetti until that point of my life. Then we started a journey together. Now it's more than 10 years. We work together. We know each other, obviously. As Interista was a great gift that life gave to me. And the best incredible moment is the Grand Slam, treble, triplete, when Javier Zanetti as a captain was able to win the Champions League final in Madrid, May 22nd, 2010. I think the best way to close this dialogue, Joao, is that May 22nd was not only the day of the Grand Slam, but also is my birthday. So I think for me it was a great celebration.
Auguri.
Grazie mille. At the time was the fantastic day. And so for all these reasons, I think it's a memorable day. Personal level, I was with my father, so an incredible moment. Think about from kids watching TV, arriving there, and so great memories. But from that moment on, I support sport in general, Italian teams in general. So I'm less Interista, but still that is my favorite moment.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much. Grazie mille, Dino. It's been a pleasure. It's always nice talking to you. This was the first experience doing this podcast with you. I really enjoyed it. I hope that people watching at home enjoyed it too. If they did, I'll invite them to leave that thumbs up on the YouTube channel here. Leave your comments, share your comments. We read all of them. See who you'd like us to write, who you'd like us to have next, maybe, and we can try to get that the guest too. And for now, I want to say again a big thank you to you, Dino, to everybody watching, and ask them to keep following the CIES channel. There will be a new CIES Talks episode soon. And for now, bye bye, and see you next time.